How do you turn this lawn into this? Using the simple method weed, mow, edge, blow. Let's see it in action. It looks simple, and it is. So let's take a detailed look at each step to figure out how you can have the best looking lawn in the neighborhood. For this project, you'll need the following power tools: a lawnmower, a weed whacker, and a blower. You'll also want some earplugs and some protective eyewear. Now that we've got all our tools, the first step is to pull the weeds. So the first step is to get rid of the weeds. Now, when you're working around your plants here, you probably don't want to be spraying a lot of chemicals and stuff because that can be hazardous to your plants. So you're going to want to pull them by hand. The trick is to just come in at the base and make sure you get the roots. If you don't get the roots, then the weed's just going to come right back. The first time you do this, it'll probably take a while, especially if you let your yard go. But after that, if you keep up with it every week, you'll only find a few small weeds here and there, and you can go through your whole yard in no time. Just be sure to do this step every week, and the weeds will never get out of control again. Once all the weeds are pulled, the next step is to mow the grass. Now, there are a couple different ways to do this. They're all a matter of preference. Some people like to mow in diagonal lines because they think the pattern looks nice. Personally, I prefer to mow in concentric circles. I think it's faster and a lot easier to do it that way. I also don't bag my grass clippings because the grass clippings act as a natural fertilizer for your lawn. So here's a tip if you decide to use the concentric circles method. If you start cutting your grass clockwise, you'll be blowing the clippings into the center of your lawn, and eventually they'll start to pile up and clog your mower. If you go counterclockwise, you're going to be blowing the clippings out, and they're going to get all in the sidewalk and the driveway and out in the street and in your plant beds and make a bigger mess for you to clean up later. So what I usually do is go clockwise for the first couple passes, blowing the clippings into the center, and then once I've done 3 or 4 passes, I turn around and go the other way, blowing the clippings out, but by then, they're not going far enough to reach the edge of the lawn, so you make less of a mess and you never clog up your mower at the end. Now that the grass is cut, it's time for the step that really gives your yard that professional look: edging. Now, you can go out and buy an edger, but I prefer to just use a weed whacker and turn it sideways. I think it works just as well. Also, it's important to wear safety glasses because both weed whackers and edgers can kick up rocks and sticks and pine cones and all sorts of things you don't want hitting you in the eye. Now, turning the weed whacker on its side, cut along all the edges of the grass, the driveway, the sidewalk, even the street if you have to. Then you go along the edges of your plant beds. You don't have to go deep, just enough to make a clean, crisp line. Then go out in your yard and cut around trees, water meters, drainage pipes, and even the mailbox. So once you've finished edging, the final step is blowing off. It's pretty self-explanatory, just make sure you get everything: the driveway, the sidewalk, and even the street. While you're at it, you might as well go ahead and blow off your deck and patio too. And that's it. The first time you do all these tasks is going to be the most time-consuming, but if you keep up with it every week, it'll get easier and easier. Hope that helps you out with your yard. Good luck, and we'll see you next week.